Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we're going to be recapping episode 75 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. I enjoyed this one quite a lot, so let's get into it. We start somewhere in the Shattered Teeth, on top of a mountain the Bellcells were teleported to last week. They see their destination ahead of them, further up on the mountain where the snow doesn't seem to exist. They see a cave entrance up there. It looks like it could be challenging to climb up. However, Imogen casts Fly and takes a rope up with an immovable rod, and Orm goes up with her to check out the cave. The cave entrance is very warm, and they almost have to squat down low in the entrance as it's not a very high ceiling. They let the rope down for the others to climb up. Laudna chooses to spider climb up, which is a much safer idea. Group athletics checks for the rest. Everyone does fine, with the exception of Fern, who rolls a natural 1, but with the others' help, they're able to get up with no problem. Everyone but FCG, Chetney, and Orm have to crouch down a little bit. It's, like I said, low ceiling. And it's super dark in here, so Imogen and FCG both cast their respective light spells. They can see a passage ahead that's very thin. One path is collapsed, and the other is very thin and wide enough for one person to go down at a time, and eventually has a steep descent to it. Orm checks out the collapsed side, and he can tell, or to see if anyone died there. He rolls a 10, and he can see that the collapse was localized in this area specifically. It doesn't seem like it went any further past this part. They see there's no ice in here as well. Everything in here seems to be warm. The party talk for a bit about how they want to go down the passage that wasn't collapsed, but eventually Fern turns into a bat, and she goes down the passage alone. It's very tight even in this form, and she definitely wouldn't have made it through very easily in her normal form. She eventually sees the passage go straight down, and seems to be really tight. The drop goes about 120 feet down. It's not a straight drop, mind you. It's sort of like, pachinkoing its way down, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. Orm is also waking his way through as well, as he's very small, so he can move around. Fern informs Imogen of what she sees. She tries to find a way to go at this point, as she's 120 feet down this little passageway. A perception check of 25. She sees the floor that she's standing on here at the bottom is almost a block of some sort, like it blocks the path from going even further down. Orm gets down there as well. He pulls on the stone that they're standing on, or that he's standing on, and Fern is sort of flying above. He rolls a 16 and pulls up a part of it, pulling it free. He falls back and he realizes he's holding a skull. There is now a hole big enough for everyone to get through, but it's going to be kind of tight. Fern informs the others of this as well, and Orm goes down the hole by himself. The party start to make their way down to the rest as well. Orm sees more of a descent that is of the same kind of rock as the rest of the cavern walls, and it seems to have a spiral going down toward it. Fern thinks the party could probably fit through the hole that was made. FCG is going down first, followed by Imogen, and then Ash, and then Laudna, and then Chetney. Orm makes an athletics check as he continues going downwards by himself. It gets tight for him as he moves around at this point and finds some shiny material. It seems to be on the wall. It seems to be silver melted onto the rock somehow. Orm touches it, and it's got the same temperature as the rest of the rock. Chetney does a smell check in the area, but there is no sulfurous scents that would normally encompass this kind of area. The party are worried about how FCG is going to fit down the hole. FCG suggests disassembling him a bit first, but the party aren't totally sold on this idea because they're not necessarily Joe or Dancer and don't know how to put them back together. Most of the party start making their way down to Fern, FCG in the lead, and they roll athletics checks, and they go head first. They roll a 17. They make their way down without much issue. Imogen is up next, and she's going to go feet down first. Athletics or acrobatics check of 6. She climbs down and gets her foot wedged, and is completely stuck. Imogen tries to use Shocking Grasp through her foot to break the stone. Unfortunately, it is grounded out by the rock, as rock is, known to not be affected by electricity that much. Imogen barely gets her hand past her body and gets her hand to her foot. She unties her shoe and is able to slip her foot out of the wedge. She starts heading down even further, and she grabs her shoe on the way down and eventually reaches FCG. Orm is now 15 feet past the hole that he created. He's listening for anything strange, but doesn't hear anything at all. Laudna tells the three down low to continue before Laudna, Ash, and Chetney make their way down, just to be safe. Acrobatics checks or athletics checks from Aurum, FCG, and Imogen. Aurum with a 19, Imogen with a 23, and FCG with an 8. Aurum continues on and eventually reaches a spot where everything opens up a little bit down below them, but they have no light. FCG doesn't go far and is blocking the way for Imogen, but Imogen kicks them forward, and he falls down to, going toward Aurum. Aurum needs to make a dexterity save as FCG is coming down fast. Aurum rolls an 8, doesn't re-roll it. FCG needs to make a strength saving throw, 6. FCG slams into Aurum, and they're both knocked down into the cavern opening and land in a what looks to be a 8 to 10 foot wide cylindrical space in here. It's very warm, warmer than it was up above. They both take a bit of damage here. Imogen makes her way down to the drop point. Aurum and FCG tell her to drop down. They'll catch her. She drops down, and Aurum does in fact catch her. They look at the ground and see more bones and more of the same soot that was sort of on the blockage earlier. They see a ton of incinerated materials all melted into the wall and the stone surrounding them. The three question why it's like this. It's very warm. Down here, like I said earlier, they start moving the bones around to try to find another hole and continue going down. Everything they moved is covered in soot. Fern tries to listen for anything strange, and she rolls a 19. She doesn't hear anything, but gets the occasional vibration from the rock below her. Imogen investigates the area 26. She sees a lot of rocks here are, with the soot covered on them, are sort of new volcanic rocks, mostly on the ground, that they're standing on. The items here are all very old, and she does find a brass ring. They're not quite sure what it does. They can't identify it yet. FCG rolls an Arcana check on it, but can't tell what it is. Imogen puts it on, and then FCG decides to cast Detect Magic. The ring does have a bit of magic to it. They're not quite sure what. Nothing else in this chamber is magical, but they do see a faint magic aura on the ground below them. They tell the others FCG can use a stone-shaped spell to open a hole below them and continue going down. And if lava comes up, they can just teleport out using the staff. They tell the others the plan. Lana doesn't really like it, but they didn't really have much of a choice here. FCG casts Stone Shape and makes a funnel-shaped hole going down into the volcanic rock below them. As the spell ends, the party can see the rock floor crack here a bit, and a massive part of the floor breaks down and falls below. And they now see an orange glow come from the chamber below them. They all look down into the hole, and they see a lava pool about 25 feet across in an open chamber below them. The lava is about 40 feet down, and is directly below them. Aurum leans over and sees the floor they're standing on is currently very weak, closer to the edges. The chamber below them is like an air bubble within this mountain. They also see small glowing creatures looking up at them. They seem to be trying to hide from the people looking down at them. The lava pool has a consistent boil in the middle of it as well. They choose that they want to fly down into the chamber. They tell the others, but Laudna tells them to wait as the rest are going to make their way down. Laudna is going to spider climb her way down, and the rest have to make acrobatics checks. Well, she does as well, but her DC's lower. Ashton's going to head down first. They rage first and roll a 20 on the athletics check. He moves like he and the stone have an unspoken agreement that allows him to move down without much issue. As he goes, he breaks parts of the stone out of the way, making it much easier for the other two to climb down. Laudna rolls a 10. With spider climb, she's able to make it down without any issue. And 14 from Chetney. Chetney watches Laudna go down, and he watches her sort of dislocate herself to sort of move around the stone here, and he helps her from behind to sort of relocate things when she doesn't have the chance to do it herself. Chetney asks, eventually they all make it down to the other group without much issue. Chetney asks why they're even down here. They don't even know if this is the right way. Fern, still in bat form, chooses to fly down and look at the small creatures. It's hot as hell in this open chamber. She hangs upside down on one of the rocks and watches the creatures. She hears them communicate to each other and doesn't quite understand what they're saying. She tells Imogen that they can talk, and they tell her to fly back up to them so FCG can cast tongues on her. FCG does, and the party chooses that it's best for all of them to go down at this point and not leave Fern alone with these creatures. Imogen will cast Fly on 3 people, and they'll carry the others down, and Laudna will still spider climb, as she's still got that up. Ashton goes to smash the stone beneath them in a controlled way, and they need to roll a strength check. Unfortunately, he rolls a 1, smashing the entirety of the floor out from beneath them, having Imogen to cast Fly. Luckily, as she was ready to do so, they fall about 5 feet, and the fly kicks in. They all fly down and sort of grab each other to make sure that no one falls, and Laudna spider climbs her way down to the rock surrounding the lava pool. As they go down, Imogen looks for another exit, to a different chamber maybe, and rolls a 17, but there doesn't seem to be another exit. Chetney tests the lava with a wooden toy, and it burns. It is in fact real lava. The party see the creatures are hiding from them even further into the chamber. Fern transforms back and calls out to the lava creatures as she can still speak with them. They say that's new, that someone can talk to them. They look like Jack Skellington elves that are made of stone and have wings. I need someone to draw this. I want to see it. I want to see it so bad. Fern asks how these creatures are doing. They say it's fine. As they're talking, molten rock bursts out from the boiling part of the lava, and another one of these little creatures is born from it. 14 more of these creatures come out to see what's going on. As they see them all sort of approach the party, one of the creatures just crumbles and the others don't seem to mind. Fern asks if there is an exit. They point up to the hole they just came down from. They don't know of any other way. The elder might know, and they point to the crumbled one that just died, and they appoint a new elder, who doesn't know another exit. Fern asks if they know where the shard of Rauschand is. They all smile and look at Fern. They say that Rauschand is the creator and births them, and they all point to the lava pool. The party wonder if they take the shard out, if it will destroy these little creatures or not. Fern asks one to touch her. It's hot like a stove, but it doesn't really bother her. It would bother other people maybe. Fern asks if they can, or if they come from another realm. The new elder says they're born from the spark, which is the lava pool. Fern asks if the lava is always like that. The creature says that there are tales of the lava going very boom. It then calms down afterwards. They ask if the creatures have seen any others like them. The new elder says that the old elder has seen people, but they angered the spark, and then boom. The party try to figure out a way to get to the spark. Fern asks how they know a boom will happen. The elder says that it fills the chamber with fire. Chetney very much wants to leave at this point. Ashton says they need an exit plan. They can just teleport out using the staff. Fern asks if there's a warning before a boom. The elder says that it's just a rumble. As everyone is talking, Ashton starts moving towards the lava, but the others stop him. They talk about how the old tree told them about the shards, or what the old tree told them about the shards. The one in Ashton is dormant, and they think that making the two shards touch will make the one in him sort of wake up. Fern gives Ashton a guidance spell, and FCG casts Enhanced Ability, Bear's Endurance, for some extra hit points. Laudna shoots a ray of frost into the boiling point of the lava pool, but it does virtually nothing. Laudna looks to Ashton and says he's a wonderful person, and Ashton says fuck off. She's almost implying that he's going to die here and wants to give him his last little send-off. Ashton is going to dive into the pool of lava. Ashton takes a deep breath in, and he flies over the lava pool as Fly is still cast on him, and it's getting very hot above there. Ashton then flies down into the boiling point, and the boiling point cools a bit. He flies down into it and rages. Rainbow start going nuts everywhere. Ashton then vanishes into the lava. He takes 20 fire damage, and he can't see anything except white hot pain. He pushes through the heart of this fire and reaches out in front of him. Investigation check 22. His hands push through the lava, looking for something. His hands eventually grab onto a stone, and it burns as hot as the rest of the lava around him. He tries to pull it out of the lava with him. Strength check of 12, it doesn't budge. Ashton takes 31 more damage as he chooses to stay. Imogen reaches out to his mind, and all she can hear is screaming. FCG gives Ashton a bonded blessing, giving him an extra D4 on his next roll. Fern casts Fire Shield on herself and then jumps in after him. She is resistant to fire. She takes 12 fire damage. The boiling is super low at this point. Fern feels the pain, much like Ashton. She's being She's a being of fire, so she's able to push through it and eventually finds Ashton's back. She follows his arms up to the stone that he's holding, and she uses her telekinesis ring to help pull on it a bit. She rolls a 19, causing it to move a bit, making it easier for Ashton to pull. Ashton takes 32 more fire damage at this point. Ashton tries to pull again, strength check, natural 20 for 28. The two of them holding onto the stone, Ashton hears the words the tree told him he was meant to be here. He then pulls, and it comes free. He holds it in his hands above the lava, and then he flies out of the lava pool with Fern on his back. The lava goes everywhere as they sort of fly out of the lava pool. Ashton's body is orange as fuck, and his temperature is matching the lava's temperature. They land near the party. The rock creatures look over excitedly at this, and they all start to slowly crumble away, which breaks my heart. FCG heals Ashton for 15 points here and take 15 damage themselves. Ashton thanks Fern for going down with them. Imogen touches Ashton's body, and it hurts a bit because he's fucking hot as shit. I said that weird. I said that weird. God damn it. He starts to cool off a bit. The party look over Ashton, and they see that the cracks on their body have healed a bit. Ashton took his jacket off before hopping in, but not his pants, and their pants are basically ruined. The stone is bright orange and white, and they have prongs going all over in different directions. They question how to add it to Ashton. Ashton is still holding it, and it takes fire damage from it. Lana thinks it should go to Fern, as the tree said the burden of the two would be too much for one person to bear. Ashton looks into it and sees a fiery cyclone inside. He takes more damage from holding it. Ashton taps it to his forehead, takes a bit more damage. He tries to think through the glass of the crystal. He senses something is deep inside him. He feels something like earthquakes, or an earthquake's foreshock in his stomach. He feels something waiting to be unlocked, and thinks that it has the key to that lock. He takes some more damage from holding it. He asks what Fern thinks, and she's not sure. He gives it to Fern, and she takes damage from it, which makes her almost want to give it back because she doesn't think that she's supposed to be holding it. Ashton then grabs his hammer and puts it onto the crystal. After a while, he can feel the hammer heating up. He picks up the crystal again, takes a bit more damage. FCG asks if Ashton wants to hear from the Changebringer. Ashton says at this point, sure. Imogen holds the shard in the air with her mage hand because it's a little bit easier for someone that's not real to hold it. They all take a good look at the piece of power that is in front of them. They can feel that the power come from it and that it helped forge the world. It feels alive. Lana wonders if there are inside the body of a Titan. History or investigation check. She rolls a 5. She can't really tell. Imogen looks at the lava, and it's not boiling anymore. It hasn't been too long, so it's hard to tell if it's going to completely cool over or not. Imogen asks if Chetney can use his ability to see the history of this thing. Chetney at first doesn't want to, because it's hot and he doesn't want to get burned, but eventually they force him to use his his grim psychometry. He feels the history of it. The entity for a moment feels chained to Chetney, trapped, kept away, vengeful, furious, and then freedom. The promise of escape. You and a partner to bring the world low once more for those who fought. Then light. Light that is a different fire than your own. It is blue, and then it's white, and then it breaks you apart. A mountain reformed and destroyed. The lights engulf you in a brief glimpse of the Emperor as you reach for each other. And you're sundered into a million pieces. The pieces fly through the sky at impossible speeds before it punches into a mountain. Chetney comes back out of this little vision, and Chetney tells everyone what he saw. The party wonder where Ashton's shard is. Ashton grabs the crystal and rages, and puts it to his chest. He takes more fire damage. He's vibrating, holding the crystal, and he feels its essence, and the one inside him wanting to be awakened. He doesn't think that this crystal is for him. They think it's for someone else, and he looks to Fern. They think about how to awaken it. Lana rolls a history check, 21 total. She recalls a piece of equipment that they recovered not too long ago, and that they have left with other people, and they know that it siphons magical energy from places and things. The harness that they left with Joe and Dancer. Orem sees a faint flash of light in the chamber behind them. 5 figures land. 2 Ryolans, 2 members of the Ruby Vanguard, and 1 is Ludinus. He says, well, now you've been busy, haven't you? And then during this little monologue, Imogen uses telekinesis to throw lava at them, and Matt brings out a map at this point. The enemy all need to make dexterity saving throws. However, Imogen does not roll very well and only does 8 fire damage to those who fail and probably half to those who succeeded. Ludinus looks at her. He has a white gem on his forehead. It's now time to roll initiative. Ashton rolls a 22, Imogen a 20, Orem a 19, Chetney a 13, FCG a 13, Fern a 12, and Laudna a 9. Ashton is up first. Ashton rages. He moves right in front of FCG. Ashton grabs the crystal, and that ends his turn. Imogen is up. She tries to grab the small Ryolan with a telekinesis. She beats its strength, and she pulls it directly into the lava, dealing 50 damage to it. She then quicken spells and mind whips the other bigger Ryolan that's in the back with them as well. It saves and only takes 7 damage from this spell. Probably halved as well, because I would imagine it's got very much the same kind of magic. Imogen then backs up towards FCG. Orem is up. He runs forward and air slashes the Ryolan in the lava, dealing 9 damage, killing that Ryolan. Orem then uses his grasping vine on the small soldier near Ludinus and pulls him into the lava, dealing 51 damage, killing him instantly. He then moves back towards FCG. Ludinus says this is an extremely rude way to deal with an extended olive branch. He then looks at FCG and sees that he's holding his staff and says that they've been prying. Fern now needs to make a strength saving throw, and she fails. Fern is now pulled into the air with Ludinus' own telekinesis, and he pulls her over the lava pool. He then takes a step back. He says, if you're going to be digging through history, that's good. The more you learn, the more you'll see that we are right. The Ryolan Juggernaut, the bigger of the two and the only one still alive, is up. He dashes around the outside of the pool and makes his way over to the party. Because he's the Juggernaut, bitch. He runs exactly like that. I just picture that in my head of him running exactly like the Juggernaut. He uses telekinesis shove, or telekinetic shove, on Orem. Orem needs to make a strength saving throw and fails, and is pushed forward into the melee range of the Juggernaut. Chetney moves up behind Ashton, takes the crystal, and then puts it into the bag of holding and turns invisible. He then moves up between Imogen and the Juggernaut. FCG is up. They don't know what to do now that Chetney is missing and Fern is currently held in the air. They're hoping to just teleport out of here. FCG just casts Cure Wounds on Ashton, healing them for 17 hit points. They then give Fern a bonded blessing. Fern is up. She casts Wall of Stone and encases Ludinus in it as he backed right up to the wall, so she's able to completely block him off. Laudna is up. She quickens spells and casts Mirror Image on herself, and then she casts Blight on the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut fails, and he takes 32 damage from it. She moves towards FCG, just like the others. The other remaining Ruby Vanguard soldier moves closer to the lava pool and sort of looks at Fern and gets ready for something. Ashton is up. He walks up to the Juggernaut, and he calmly swings at the Juggernaut, hitting and then using Chaos Burst. The Juggernaut takes 26 damage and is pushed 5 feet toward the lava. He swings again, hitting, using another Chaos Burst, dealing 11 damage on this one. Ashton rages again, as he technically lost it last round, but we're not going to go that far back and sort of remove some certain things because they remembered that after the swings made damage, so they sort of just let the Chaos Burst go. Not a big deal. Mistakes made. Who cares? Imogen is up. She quickens spells to cast Seething Storm and puts it on Ludinus and his remaining Ruby Vanguard soldier, causing them to be blinded, and when they start their turns in the storm, they will take damage. Imogen then casts Blade Ward on herself, first time she's ever done it. Orem moves up to the other side of the Juggernaut. He stabs the Juggernaut, hitting him and making a pushing attack, dealing 18 damage, but the Jug saves the pushing attack. Orem swings again, doing the same thing, 18 more damage. The Jug fails and is pushed 15 feet into the lava, taking 33 damage. Orem then runs and jumps, swinging again at the Juggernaut, dealing 19 more damage. However, it saves the push. Action Surge. He takes 3 more attacks, killing the motherfucker, sending the body into the lava, and then does a backflip off the Juggernaut onto the edge of the lava pool. The fucking most hardcore melee round I've ever fucking seen in Dungeons and Dragons. It was sick. Look it the fuck up. It was amazing. I was so hype. Now Ludinus is up. He takes damage from the storm. He then dimension doors out of the stone wall and tries to pull Fern closer to him. Fern from save from Fern is a 7, and he's able to pull her over to him. Ludinus says that it's very rude to not even entertain a conversation. Fern says that they can talk. He says let's find a safer place, implying that he's going to teleport out with her. Chetney is up. He moves over to FCG and just holds his action to attack if something comes near. FCG is up. They cast Spiritual Weapon next to Ludinus in the form of a pepper box that's being aimed right to his head. A pepper box is one of Percy's guns from Campaign 1, so if you're curious about what that was, that's what it is. He then, instead of shooting with the pepper box, he just swings with the blunt end, dealing 13 damage on the hit. FCG then casts Sacred Flame, dealing 14 more damage. Ludinus, during all of this, doesn't lose concentration on telekinesis. Fern is up. She casts Stone of Fire on Ludinus, but he counterspells it. Fern asks about about the olive branch that he extended. Ludinus says the time for that is over, as they killed his party members. So they'll talk alone. Fern says that he has killed their people as well, so they're kind of even. Let's talk. Persuasion check of 18. He says he's curious to the similar paths they walk and their interesting patrons, and that's where the turn ends. Laudna is up. She moves up towards Fern and Ludinus and summons her Hound of Ill Omen, sending it towards Ludinus. Laudna then casts Phantasmal Force, making the lava pool look like it's splitting the space between Ludinus and Fern. However, he makes the save, so nothing happens. The Hound then bites Ludinus, making him take 10 damage. Ludinus makes a strength save and is knocked prone. He fails a strength save and is knocked prone. The Ruby Vanguard member, the only other person left for Ludinus' party, is up. He runs up to defend Ludinus and slashes at the dog, missing the first strike but critting on the second one, dealing 19 damage, killing the dog. This pisses everyone off. Don't kill dogs. He then steps in front of Ludinus to sort of block. Ashton is up. He walks up to the lava pool and uses a Chaos Burst to open a wormhole strike to hit Ludinus for 20 damage. He goes for another, but misses unfortunately, and again, Ludinus doesn't lose the concentration on any of these damage rolls. Imogen is up. She moves up a bit and casts Lightning Bolt, hitting Ludinus and the soldier. The soldier fails the spell save. Ludinus succeeds. The soldier takes 42 damage, and Ludinus taking half. The soldier here dies. The Lightning Bolt forces Ludinus to lose concentration, however. So Fern drops in front of him. She's no longer in telekinesis. Imogen then moves back toward FCG. Orm is up. He yells Fern's name as she's in danger and runs toward Fern, and then throws 2 daggers at Ludinus, but it was in vain as nothing really lands. Ludinus is up. He stands and says it's a shame, and says a lesson can still be learned here. He steps away from Fern. She swings but misses. He then picks up his hands and starts to cast a spell. Counterspell from Laudna. She needs to make a 19 because it is a 9th level spell, so she needs to roll a 14 or higher. And would you believe me if I said that she rolled a natural motherfucking 20? This has 2 of the most hype moments in the campaign so far. This episode fucking rocks. The whole party felt something reach into their minds, but suddenly it ends. He goes to counterspell her, but he has to roll to counter it as well, and doesn't make the roll. However, I do want to point this out. Counterspell is a 3rd level spell, and her counterspell was a 3rd level spell. So it should have automatically worked. However, and this is a big however, it's Matt's fucking game. If he likes to make them roll for it, and this is a consistent thing in his fucking game, that's fine. We can just drop it. It's their game. Let them have fun with it. This moment is really cool anyway, so let them just have it. I saw people being very upset by this. I had to look in chat. I knew it was going to happen. It's Matt's game. Let's not harp on it too much. He then says, at least we have some information. He then walks into the lava and he melts into steam, seemingly showing that this was a clone of Ludinus, not necessarily a real one. Fern quickly reaches into the lava and grabs the opal that was on his forehead. They then grab a bunch of stuff off the bodies of the other members of the Ruby Vanguard they killed. After grabbing some stuff, they gather up and wonder where to go now. Chetney wants to see more of the shattered teeth, but Imogen thinks they're now on a much more strict time limit. They recall Dancer, Joe, and Vesper went to Whitestone to be with the terrible Tinkerer of Teldore to fix the harness, so they choose to teleport there. FCG focuses on the Sun Tree, and the roll will be at the start of the next episode, and this is where the session ends. And there you have it, episode 75 of Campaign 3. I fucking love this episode. The first, I would say, 40 minutes of them trying to climb down into the chamber is kind of confusing at first, but when you think about it and sort of figure out the layout of what's happening, it becomes a lot more entertaining and a lot more of my worst goddamn fucking nightmare of spelunking. Who does this? Who likes going down into these tunnels and getting stuck and being laying underneath there, potentially losing everything because you're just stuck? It's the same thing as those people who go like scuba diving in fucking tunnels like this. It's terrible shit. I don't like it at all. My worst nightmare ever. Claustrophobia, fucking no, fuck that shit. Anyway, for the rest of the episode though, fucking loved it. I loved the whole lava creatures, Jack Skellington things. Like I said, I need someone to draw that. I loved the image of Fern and Ashton in the lava together, and it's sort of, I wasn't too sure on like where I thought like certain characters would end, but now I kind of want those two to end up together. I know that's kind of weird and doesn't seem like that's like a thing, but they've sort of had like a little relationship the entire campaign of the two of them sort of stealing off each other and everything like that. And now this image and Fern like jumping in to save him sort of like reaffirms that idea for me. So if that ends up happening, that would be cool. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Wouldn't bother me too much. Anyway, the other thing of note is the counterspell. Now, counterspell should automatically, based on the rules of the game, be able to get rid of a third level spell, which is what Laudna cast her counterspell as. However, that depends on if you think that you should be able to counterspell on a counterspell that's counterspelling your spell. A lot of people don't think so. My thought process is like this. Let's take a different reaction spell. You're playing a wizard and a monster standing in front of you and it holds its action for an attack on your turn. So you go and make your turn, it attacks you, and you reaction cast Shield. Does that take away your only spell that you can cast that turn? No, because that's your reaction, and it's your reaction spell to cast that. And then you can still cast a spell afterwards. So that's my thinking, because a reaction can happen on your turn or on someone else's turn, and it wouldn't take up your spell for the turn. It's not like in a turn that happens, someone hits you, you cast Shield, and then your turn happens, and because your turn is now within that same round, you can no longer cast a spell. That's not how it works. So realistically, I think it works mechanic-wise. People just don't like it. So I see where they're coming from. But other than that, I love this episode. And I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.